Hello, everybody. weebrabbit here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 53. This week we are back, the two of us, both Legend of Jonathan and I. And yeah, this is going to be back to the basics, back to what we did, news stories, recommendation at the end, all that good stuff. It's been a bit since we had a regular episode. So I'm ready to get started. I think we have some pretty cool stuff to talk about. And I know Legend of Jonathan is glad to be back. So say hello, Legend of Jonathan. And then once you're ready, take us away with what you did.
So yeah, I'm gonna take it away now. So what I've basically been doing was I continued, play Mario RPG. I progressed the story more. I'm loving it. I'm liking the little, the new mechanics being introduced. Nothing seems to be changed, And I don't know, man. I just love the game, and it's been pretty fun. It's been, the hottest thing on my Switch that I've been playing, And something else that I did, which I'm going to talk about now, is that I watched episodes 2 through 4 of Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, nice.
And
I've been
I'm
wondering
about
if you had kept up with it. Yeah.
And I'm going to explain them. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to go too deep. I'm just going to summarize them like very shortly. So episode 2 is that basically our protagonist hero, he has no memories of what happened when he connected with 02 in the last episode, and he doesn't know how he piloted the mech Strelizia, that's what it's called?
No, it's Strelizia.
Strelizia. He doesn't know how,
whatever. Yeah.
Streliza, yeah. That he doesn't know how he piloted it, but obviously he knew that he did because people had told him and everything. And so basically what happens is that like the people he has been living under the organization Ape, they kind of tell him that what if he does now is he trains with his other not even opponents, like his other siblings. We'll go like siblings basically.
Yeah, because they're all basically supposed to be like one big unit, you know what I mean? So when you said opponents, I was about to say, no, they're not really competing, but you fixed it. Yeah.
But that, like basically with his, unit. And so he does is he has to do is match up with his friend ｉchigo. And
𝐥𝐤𝐤 Kurosaki from Bleach?
No. You already know who we're talking about, bro, because I mentioned her last time too. And that basically it seems like they did match up when they were trying to pilot their mech, the what's it called? Depth. I don't know how to pronounce the because I know it's a flower.
They're all kind of weird. As I was about to tell you, they're all based on flower names, so it's kind of weird. I think it's Delphinium. I think that's how you say it.
Delphinium, yeah.
Yeah, so the one that 02 pilots is Strelizia or something like that, and then this one is Delphinium. So
yeah, and I thought it was really good, and the episode, but that what happens is that it seems like they match up really well, but then what happens is that for no reason, like I guess like the connection just doesn't work for a bit, and so she goes like, hey, like how do you how did you perfectly sync with 02? He's like, I don't even know. Like I just she like kissed me. And then because for some reason, like the kids don't really know what kissing or any of that stuff is. She's like, what is that? And you can tell she gets kind of like jealous. And he's like, oh, well, a kiss is like where you like touch lips with someone. But like, don't worry though. Like if like I didn't like mean it. She just kind of like pulled me in and like, it just happened, And so that basically she tries doing that. And then like the thing is that you would think like, oh, well, maybe there is some sort of thing like that where, that's how the people sync, And nope, it didn't work because apparently since Hero doesn't have feelings, well, I guess with like 02, it's obviously has feelings, that connection never happens. And so when that doesn't happen, from there, they just can't sync up ever. And so the whole mission that they were supposed to like sync up, it just goes to failure.
Yeah.
Because they didn't work. In episode 3.
Well, hold on, before you jump to that, I was gonna say, so yeah, basically what's important from this episode, number one, that Hero doesn't remember anything happened in the cockpit. And since we know that Zero Two can pilot a Franxx by herself, it makes you wonder, so how does that work? Isn't he supposed to be like in control? And that's what I'm saying, this is where kind of some of the interesting stuff comes in that kind of makes you wonder, does that mean maybe he wasn't in control? He wasn't the one piloting it? And, we'll kind
Hmm.
of get back to more of that later. And then another thing is, like you said, it's kind of cool to see that, yes, since they do call them, remember, like the piston and the, what is it, like, stamen? What do we call those parts of the flower we talked about last time?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it kind of shows us that, oh, it's kind of funny that the mechs are actually named after flowers to kind of continue with that little motif. So that's kind of cool. And then finally, yeah, it's kind of interesting that they tell him, like, no, you're forbidden from piloting with Zero Two, but since you did a good job, looks like you got your groove back. Like you said, team up with someone else, see if you can kind of, keep it up or whatever. And it's interesting that we kind of see that, yeah, similar to other stuff we've seen in media like Pacific Rim, remember, where it's like, oh, if the two pilots have like a really good connection, remember, because they have to like be linked up mentally, they'll like
Hmm.
pilot the Jaegers, better. Or like in
Hmm.
Evangelion, where like the whole point is like they need to sync up with the Avas, right? And like the better
Hmm.
they can sync up with it, like the more they can like pilot it and stuff. And that kind of happens here, where it's like, yeah, like the more connection it looks like you have with your partner, the better you can actually like pilot the mech. And yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that for Hiro and Ichigo, even though we kind of get some hints of, like you said, some jealousy from Ichigo's part and some stuff there about her feelings for Hiro, he just has that like natural connection with Zero Two. And because he's not having that connection with Ichigo, it just doesn't really work, which is kind of
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah. All right. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So it didn't work out. Like you said, it didn't work. So jumping over to episode three, take it away.
Episode three is that basically, the way it starts off is that Hiro isn't allowed to pilot again, as the first episode where he wasn't allowed, and that basically his fellow pilots, they are assigned their first, like, mission basically, and it's to kill one of those dinosaur things called Calaxosaurs. And what happens is that everyone else like syncs up perfectly. And the thing is, though, that these idiots kind of don't do the plan like at all. They basically go off on their own like thing. And so they get ambushed by a bunch of those Calaxosaurs. And so Zero Two like ask if, like, she can use Stre- Strelzia to, like, fight off the dinosaurs basically. The And what happens is that basically she's not allowed to do it with Hero, but she can be allowed to do it with someone else. And for some reason, one of the pilots, his name's Mitsuru, he's like, no, I'm going to pilot with her because um, basically, like, I believe I'm going to be a better pilot than you, and that maybe I'll even be a better partner for Zero Two. And what happens is that he does sync up with her really well, but then for no reason, it's like he gets too power hungry immediately. And then even though he succeeds in killing off all the Calexisaurs, he comes out of the mech literally like fully damaged. Like he literally is just like completely damaged. And there's no explanation except that, like, I guess Hero's the only pilot compatible with her.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Episode three felt mostly like the story beats were pretty basic. I think makes it was like more actiony and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say you basically got it. It's just like, okay, the other teams or whatever, they screw up. Zero Two says, let me rescue him, I guess. But she wants to start with Hero. They say no. Mitsuru, who we'll kind of see over time, he's kind of interesting. He definitely has some sort of a rivalry with Hero and some sort of a, I don't know. You'll see more, but obviously, keep a tab on that. Some rivalry with him, some trying to like, I'm better than you, blah blah blah. He says, I'll pilot with her, and they say, yeah, you're allowed. And even though, like you said, they do a good job, yeah, he gets it kind of power hungry. Like the connection is just like kind of like too strong for him. And yeah, basically he comes out all damaged. Which, if you remember, from like the first episode of the guy that piloted with
Mm-hmm.
Zero Two, he got like drained of all his energy. like it seems like it really hurts them when they like team up with her. And yeah, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
proves it here too, where like, yeah, even though he like synced up with her, he comes all messed up because it's like, no, only Hero is compatible with her for some reason. So it's kind of interesting, like, huh, I wonder why. Like, what's the deal there, you know? That's kind of what like
Yeah.
episode 3 leaves you with. Yeah. All right. And then for
Mm-hmm.
episode 4,
And then episode 4 is that basically Metsuro, they took him into recovery, but then he's like really traumatized from his experience with partnering up with Zero Two. And like it's even shown that like he doesn't touch his food. Whenever they mention the mission, like he freaks completely out and he like calls her like a demon and says that he doesn't want to ever see her again or anything. And then what happens is that the people who had brought her to the facility, they kind of say that they're gonna have to take her away again. Um, and then a Calacosaur appears and starts to attack, and the other like pilots are dispatched to like face it. Kind of like the last episode, they have a hard time dealing with it. And Hero, because he loves Zero Two, he kind of chases after her and tries to convince her to be his partner. And Zero Two is like, yeah, I I agree. And so she disobeys like the orders she was given, and she does board Shrilezia with Hero. And as like the first episode, they do successfully partner up. They help the others kill the Klaxosaurs, and then afterwards, like basically, um, I always forget to like those two characters' names, but basically it's like one of the higher ups, of like the ape, that they say like, oh well, we might have to tell Papa that like Zero Two really is compatible with Hero then, and then that's when like they're saying like whether he'll like be happy with the news or not, and that's practically what episode 4 is too.
yeah, basically it's just like, no, we should be partners. Zero Two saying, yeah, I agree. And like you said, they basically just disobey orders, pilot once again together. It works again. So it shows that yes, they're compatible. It shows that Hero's problem is not piloting in general, but it's just that he needs the right partner, I guess. And yeah, they defeat
Mm-hmm.
everything, but then it kind of leaves it where like, what are all of the higher ups going to think about it? It kind of, you know, opens up some questions about like who's Papa and like why would he if the news is going to be like you said good or bad and all that and all that stuff. And then it kind of also shows that yeah, the little area that these kids live in, it's called like a plantation, because we'd explained I
Mm-hmm.
think from the first episode that they're like these movable fortresses, and you think, oh, so they're just part of these movable fortresses, like okay, and they're defeating these enemies or whatever, but you kind of see like, oh no, there's like a whole bunch of these. So at the end, I think it's like, yeah, it's gonna meet up with like another plantation or whatever. So it's kind of interesting to see that like, oh, there's more of these just like moving around, and it's not the only one, which kind of was like what you might think at first, you know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm trying to look real quick. What are some of the higher ups? Because Dr. Franxx, he's the cyborg human guy that he created the Max. And then there's Hachi. He's like the combat
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you like the combat commander guy. And then there's Nana, who's like the manager of like all the kids and stuff. I guess they call her Nana because they kind of almost like a nanny, right? Because she's the one who kind of
Mm-hmm.
takes care of
She's
the
the
kids or like
mm-hmm.
leads
She's
them or
like the
whatever.
yeah, she's the red hair lady with the hat and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Hachi's
And
kind of
then
like the actual commander or whatever. So
that he talks to her, and then like he looks kind of like, to me he kind of looks like Giovanni a bit, but like
oh, I can
the
see
hair's a
that.
bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of what those people, those ones we see a lot. And then yeah, obviously Dr. Franxx, and then we'll see other more higher up people later, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there you go. So yeah, it's Nana and Hachi. But yeah, so what do you think of the story so far? What do you think of the anime, I guess?
I think it's pretty good so far. I like it. I
Pretty
mean, I think
interesting, right?
the sinking stuff is kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
But
sure. That's where you get all the see all that fan service, all that anime weirdness, right?
yeah, like I'll even like almost want to look away because I'm just like, bro, like this is weird. Like,
Oh
But
yeah, that's anime for you, man. There's always gonna be like some like why?
there's always like
What's
a weird
happening?
catch to something. There's always like a weird catch to something. It's like why? Like
I know
um
it's kind of funny, honestly. I don't know.
but yeah, so far it seems really, cool. And then I like that, like, you can kind of tell where like why this stuff is kind of like the way it's kind of implying stuff like with relationships and stuff. Because I feel like so far the way they're kind of like going with it is kind of like when you try to like match up with someone that you actually aren't compatible with, like romantically. And that kind of can leave you personally hurt because, you're seeking something that they can't give you. And so I
Yeah,
guess that's
yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
what like mhm.
Yeah, as I'm saying, that's kind of interesting that a lot of it is kind of some interesting metaphors or like parallels for like relationships and the whole, like you said, you try to like engage with the other person and you're not compatible, so you kind of come off hurt or it just doesn't like work or whatever. So it's kind of interesting how they're definitely there's a lot of that. There's a lot of those that subtext and stuff, which is really interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
So good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I remember that, like I said, we talked about it when you first talked about it, that later you will see that there are some moments that kind of, that kind of takes away from it being like a 10 out of 10 or whatever. But the beginning's pretty strong and it's really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Like the world building and the characters kind of trying to figure out the rules of how things work, and it's really good. So right now you're still in like the really really good stuff. So I'm glad you're enjoying it so far, and yeah, it'll be interesting to just see as you continue what how the story progresses. What do you think about it? All that stuff. So pretty cool. Nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. Cool. 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 And was that it for your week? Is there more?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Cool. 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 In that case, the thing that I did this week, like I said, I did a few things I mentioned before, like played some stuff, watched some of the stuff I've already discussed, that sort of thing. But besides that, I've been kind of busy. So the only other thing I did of note that was new that I would like to discuss is that I watched Good Burger 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, because it came out like a little like right before Thanksgiving. It came out like that
I
same
knew about
week.
that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I watched it and it was fine. I thought it was fun. It's not like the best movie in the world. It's not like, oh my God, it was like revolutionary. And I'm so glad that the series is back or anything. But for always being like a pretty goofy, series or whatever, it was just a goofy movie and it was fine, I guess. You know what I mean?
Oh, a goofy
Basically the
movie.
goofy movie. Basically the plot is that it's been, in universe, it's been like almost 6 years since I guess Dexter and Ed were like last together. And in that time, Dexter, he's been working, I guess, as an entrepreneur. And it starts by showing that he has like this meeting with like these investors and stuff, right? And he
hmm
supposedly created this thing called, I'm not gonna remember what the name is, but it's supposed to be something that you spray it on something and it's like a flame retardant where like something won't catch fire.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so to show it off, he like coats it all over his own house, and then he like puts like fireworks in there as well because he's like that confident supposedly, and he lights it
Oh
on
my
fire.
God.
And he's like showing off, and he doesn't notice that his house is on fire as all the investors are watching, and he's like bragging about it. And then his like house like starts like burning and a bunch of crap, so it doesn't work. And all the investors are like mad about like they're losing money or whatever, and the guy who was funding him is like all pissed off at him. So he loses like all a bunch of money, loses his like office or whatever, just loses everything basically. And since he's desperate, he thinks about who will actually like help him, like who he can turn to, and he thinks of Ed. So he heads back to
Good
where
burger.
yeah he heads back to this the city where like the Good Burger's at. He meets up with Ed again, and from there, basically, it's all about how Ed he owns Good Burger now because apparently like the owner let him like he gave it to him because of how he helped save the business with the Ed's secret sauce and all that. And so he
hmm
owns Good Burger, but he still like works there like the way as he always has, right? And
Yeah.
we meet like the new employees. Like there's these twins. Cindy and Mindy, that Ed, because he's stupid, he thinks that it's like the same girl and she just has different names or whatever. I don't know. It's like, it's usual Ed stuff, right? And there's
Yeah.
this old lady named Ruth that she's the one who like takes the deliveries. She's like the delivery driver. But it's like this old, like senile old lady that like, oh my God, it's really funny. And then who else was there? Oh, and then Dexter's niece works there. And she's kind of, a bit estranged from him because apparently he lost her mom, which is his sister, a bunch of money with like one of his ideas or whatever. So like there's some like rift there between them. And then of course Ed too, which is Ed's son, works there as well. And he's just like his dad. He's like really
Oh
dumb.
my.
So it's really funny. And then basically going from there, so Dexter turns to him. He's the one we can turn to. We meet the new people from 𝐤𝐤𝐤. We learn that that Ed owns it now, whatever. Oh, and the last character I forgot. Since Dexter needs money, he's gonna start working at 𝐤𝐤𝐤. And we the manager, they're like, oh, you have to meet Mr. Jensen, see if he like will hire you, whatever. I'll put in a good word for you. And I think it's gonna be like some like adult, right? And it ends up being like
Yeah.
some kid, some like high school. It looked like he was some high school kid, like all like skinny and nervous, all like what I mean. His name is Mr. Jensen, and it's funny because throughout the whole movie, we don't know what his first name is. They always just call him Mr. Jensen.
Hmm.
And it's so funny that he's the manager, but he's like a kid. But I mean, it's funny, like Ed owns 𝐤𝐤𝐤, but he works there as like his usual like cashier position. And Mr. Jensen is the manager. So I just thought it was like a funny dynamic. You know what I mean?
Oh, so he's like the CEO while like somehow the other dude's like the manager. That's funny.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's
He's basically like the
yeah.
CEO, like owns 𝐤𝐤𝐤. You can tell he's like the one who's like kind of in control of it, but he just works as like the cashier, same as always. So it's funny.
So yeah.
And then, like I said, from there, basically, we see the cast. We see that, Dexter's training Ed because he has nobody else. And then Ed, of course, is doing great because he owns 𝐤𝐤𝐤. We see his house. He has like a pretty nice house. He's married and he has like 7 different kids.
Yeah.
It's really
I've
funny.
seen
It's like
that.
he's doing pretty good with his life. And, as Dexter's kind of trying to like maybe pitch his idea to ideas to Ed so he can like help fund him, he can get back on his feet, whatever. There's this guy that he wants Ed, I'm sorry, he wants Ed to sign a contract that he will sell 𝐤𝐤𝐤 to 𝐸𝐴corp. That's like the antagonist of this movie. 𝐸𝐴corp, it's like this huge corporation that he wants them to
Yeah.
sell 𝐤𝐤𝐤 to 𝐸𝐴corp. And you kind of have to see what happens, but they kind of end up agreeing. Dexter kind of convinces Ed to do it. And then from there, it's some shenanigans about seeing what the evil corporation's actually up to and what they need to do in order to get the 𝐤𝐤𝐤 back. So just not spoil it, but that's kind of what it's about. And like I said, I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was a good movie. It was really zany, really crazy with all of Ed's dumbness and all that stuff. I liked it though. I thought it was a fine sequel. Nothing like I said super like, oh my god, yes, I can understand why it was like, so many years in the making. Nothing like that. It's one of those things where
Yeah.
I'm like, they could have done this like a couple years later. It would have been fine, but a lot of things these days, it feels like, yes, a lot of it is money, right? And it is, recognizable IPs. I do get there's that part of it if you want to like be cynical, but I do feel that a big part of it too is that a lot of these people, a lot of these cast, if they had a good time with the original series, movie, project, whatever, it looks like a lot of times they just come back because they kind of go, I had fun with that. How about we just like go back to that world? You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
that's definitely what this felt like. It felt like it really was just like a thing for like the fans, and it felt like it really was a thing where like the 2 main cast guys, it felt like they just kind of like wanted to like return to those roles. You know what I mean? So like, even though you can be kind of cynical and be like, oh my god, IPs always come back and there's all these like reboots and sequels and stuff because of money. Like, yes, that is a part of it. Like, because duh, I mean, everyone wants to like make money, right? That there's not anyone who's gonna be like, I'm just gonna do it for free. But it seems
Hmm.
like a lot of it, a big part of it is like, yeah, it seemed like they just kind of felt like reprising the roles. It seems like they enjoy the experience and they just wanted to like make more of it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It felt like it was like
Hmm.
a movie for the fans, and if I guess I had fun with it, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Good Burger 2. And then
That's pretty
after
cool.
yeah, and then after this, at the end, there's a good thing where like the actor Fred, he's like, Good Burger 3, we're going to space or something like that as like a joke.
Oh
But if you like
my.
but if you look it up, it says that yeah, they're interested in maybe like making some more, content. So who knows? Maybe they will. That'd be kind of cool, honestly.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I liked it. Like I said, I had fun with it. So I would say if you're a fan of the original, don't expect it to be like I said, oh my god, it's gonna be like this like crazy. I can see why it took so long to make this. It was perfect. It's nothing like that, but it's still a fun watch. I still think it's like a fun watch. Throw it on, just enjoy it for what it is. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, so that's it for my week. Like I said, didn't do too much, but at least I got to watch Good Burger 2. That was fun. Yeah, so that was it. Not too much for each of us. We kind of each just did one thing, but there you go. Jumping over to the news, as the title of this first article states, Grand Theft Auto 6 first trailer set for December 5th. So yes,
Let's
people are
go.
wondering if we're ever gonna hear from GTA 6. People have been wondering, will they just keep milking, GTA 5 forever? It's already been on like 3 different systems. Is that all we're gonna get? But no, apparently GTA 6, it is coming. We're finally gonna get the trailer. By the time this podcast goes up, it'll be going, the trailer should hit like right after.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, though, I think the little subheading of the title is really funny. It says that's it. That's the whole news story. And that's the funny part that really is the whole news story. That's the whole
Hmm.
thing. That's all we know. It's just like last time the news story was like, okay, the guy in charge said, yes, the game is officially announced. Look forward to news coming soon. And that was it. And now it's like, yes, the trailer's coming. But like it's like another little step. It's like, okay, that's all we're getting though. We have to like wait till the trailer comes out to like finally dig into this more, you know? But
Hmm.
at least for now, yeah, if you look at the little image that goes with it, it'll probably be on the screen if you guys are watching this on YouTube. Yeah, this is trailer 1, Tuesday, December 5th, 9 a.m. Eastern. And then it has like a purple orange sky, like it's supposed to be what, maybe like a sunset or something, and then it has some palm trees. So that just seems to even further confirm what seems to be what everyone's heard and been speculating, all that stuff. That yeah, it looks like we're going back to like Vice City or whatever, because
Let's go.
Vice City is supposed to be very much based on like Miami,
Hmm.
tropical beach or whatever, and that's kind of what it seems to be showing here with the imagery. So pretty cool, I guess. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Then the second news story. This is something that I'm also pretty excited for. Don't know how many people remember when we talked about this, but back when there was I don't remember if it was a Nintendo Direct or if it was another one of those indie world showcases, but I know it was one of those, events. They talked about a game called Penny's Big Breakaway. And
Hmm.
Penny's Big Breakaway is a 3D platformer that it's made by the same developers of Sonic Mania. So I think I remember talking about that. I'm like, oh my God, Sonic Mania, people, they're making a new game and it's a 3D platformer. And it's about this girl that she's kind of dressed like a performer, maybe like a kind of like a jester, except she doesn't really have like the clown makeup, right? But she's kind of looks like a little jester, maybe. And it's about how she has like this yo-yo she uses as like a grappling hook, and she rides around on it like a little like car or whatever, right? And it's
Hmm.
pretty cool that they, as the title of the article states, Penny's Big Breakaway animated trailer. So there's this little animated trailer that shows some of the gameplay and it shows all of the bosses. And it looks pretty good, honestly. I really like the art style. I think the game looks pretty cool. It shows Penny going up against, all these different bosses. And then it shows some of the gameplay. And yeah, for the different bosses, based on what you see, it looks like it's going to be all these different like environments. Like even though the main antagonist seems to be the guy called Eddie the Emperor, and he has like a bunch of like penguin minions that we kind of see chasing Penny around. There's also going to
Hmm.
be like this sailor lady, and it shows like it's going to be like a lot of like water based stuff. And then it shows someone called Mr. Q, that they look very like futuristic robot-y, but at the same time it looks like maybe they'll be like some sort of martial artist or something based on kind of how they're fighting Penny. And then there's the taboo artist, that it looks kind of, she's supposed to be kind of like your, for lack of a better term, your Virgil, which if anyone's played Devil May Cry, if you're Dante dressed in red, your Virgil is your twin Virgil who dresses in blue. So your Virgil means like your rival that looks a lot like you, except for like, they kind of have like different power set, right? It's the whole red. Yeah, it's the whole red Oni, blue Oni thing, right? Whole point is the taboo artist kind of looks a bit like Penny, the way they're dressed and everything. However, it looks like they're going to be using like puppets to fight you, because there's like this little puppet that Penny's racing against. So I wonder what it'll be like, the whole thing there. But yeah, the taboo artist looks like they're in space. So like that's really interesting. And then they also show after that Judge Rufus. And they literally, it's like there's some judge, they're like presiding over you. They have like the whole gavel and whatever. And their area is the one that you can't really tell what's happening. They show like the least, but okay, some sort of like a judge or whatever. And then of course there's Emperor Eddie. And he looks like he's kind of like a sumo looking guy. And he's the one who's supposed to be like the main antagonist. And he's the one that for whatever reason, Penny gets in trouble with him. And I think that's kind of how the story takes off. He's in charge of all the penguins. So I don't know. It just looks really interesting. I like the art style. It looks good. Like I said, they show some of the gameplay off, and it just looks really interesting. It looks really fun. The environments look fun, and the gameplay looks really cool with the whole grappling hook and using your little car-looking thing to like drive around and everything. So I'm pretty excited for it. I really look forward to it. I really want to play it. It looks like it's coming to like basically all systems. It's going to be on Steam, series, the Xbox, series is PlayStation 5 and Switch. So it's going to be on basically everything, which is really cool. And I'm excited. It looks good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to it. Fortunately, we don't really have a release date yet. It just says like 2024, but with it being near the end of the year already, that should be coming pretty soon then. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. What about you? Any thoughts on it real quick before we move on, or what do you think?
I think it's gonna be fun. It kind of reminds me of like the art style, like some of the character designs kind of remind me of like some of those older 3D or 2D 0.5 games, like Mischief Maker, stuff like that, So I'm kind of hyped about it, and then also kind of it's very Sonic Mania-esque. I can tell too from like, because it's the team, So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, like some of the animation definitely, even though it's like it looks like 3D-ish, like it has a different art style. With some of the animation kind of reminds me of Sonic Mania stuff, with some like the character expressions and like that sort of thing, if that makes sense. And
you can tell it's there.
Yeah, and then you're right. The main character, she kind of reminds me a bit of the girl from Mischief Makers, because she's kind of looks like kind of slightly like robot-y, kind of like, what I mean? Like, there's something about her that doesn't look like totally human, if that makes sense. Nice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I don't know. Hopefully, when it comes out, I get a chance to play it. Maybe do like a little quick look on the channel or whatever. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes to come out, but that would be fun. So, then the next news story. This one's actually a pretty disappointing one. As someone who finished, the Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, talked about how I really enjoyed it and how I kind of hinted at the end that like, oh my god, it ends in a way where like maybe there will be more, and I kind of hope there is, because that would be cool or whatever. Which I know you're not there yet, because you said that you're not like done with it yet, but as the title of the article states. Bryan Lee O'Malley, no plans for season 2 of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off anime. So I'm like, oh man, I've seen this, like, oh, that's lame. Because I just said, if they make more, that'd be really cool. And the way it ends, it kind of hints that maybe there's room for more or whatever. So the fact that he's like, nah, there's no plans for more. It's just like a self-contained single season. I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing to hear, Yeah, basically the reason it says that there was like a interview with him, And I'll just kind of read it real quick. It says, O'Malley further stated that people are always complaining about how shows get canceled after one season. So we hedged our bets immediately and tried to make a self-contained one season. So basically they just sat down and they only like really wrote and planned for one season. And I guess it makes sense because like he says, in case we get canceled, we don't want to disappoint fans. And, with it being on Netflix, Netflix is kind of lame that way as well, where they always cancel things early. Like I know BoJack Horseman, for instance, yes, we got 6 really good seasons, but if it was up to the creators, they had wanted to make like maybe like another like season or 2, I think, but they kind of had to like wrap it up. You know what I mean? So even though it ended really well, they did kind of have to like wrap it up, right? And then there's all sorts of other stuff that I can't even like think of right now off the top of my head, but I know there's all sorts of projects over on Netflix that like they get canceled really soon, which really sucks. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing to hear that, it's good they thought ahead and they tried their best to just make sure that one season felt conclusive. But at the same time, it kind of sucks. They're like, that's it. I would have liked some more.
Yeah.
The only good news is that even though he says there's no plans for more, that they really like did all their work for just that one self-contained season. I mean, I guess if you want to be positive, that doesn't mean that's all we're gonna get necessarily. Like, you never know if maybe Netflix could ask him to do more, and maybe he could be like, okay, we didn't plan for it, but sure, since like I said, what we got does end with kind of like a small hint there could be more. Even though he didn't really plan for it, that doesn't mean that they can't go, sure, it's going to take a bit of time because we didn't plan for it, but we'll make more at some point. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, it could happen, I guess, if you're thinking positive. It's not necessarily like he said, like, no, we're never coming back, but I don't know. We'd have to see what happens, but I guess I'm just glad with what we got, I guess, but it is kind of disappointing that like, oh man, I was excited for more, but it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, but since I haven't finished it yet, same thing. Just hope you get around to finishing it. That way you can kind of hopefully enjoy it and kind of see what I mean. Where you're like, oh, you're right. That I do think that could have there was room here and there for more. See what you think about that, because I'm not really saying it. I'm just kind of like hinting at it, but we'll see when we get there that you finish the rest of it. So Alrighty, and finally, the last news story. Suicide Squad Isekai anime reveals main cast in new trailer. So yeah, we talked about this, that there's supposed to be a Suicide Squad Isekai. I mean, it's called Suicide Squad Isekai, and it's going to be a studio. It's going to be an anime project by Studio Wit, which sounds really weird, but it's actually kind of a cool concept. I'm actually like really interested in like seeing this when it comes out, because it sounds like really like, that's really weird. Like comic book characters adapted into an anime, and not only that, but it's going to be like an isekai. Like, what's up with that? It just like sounds really crazy and really out there, but it sounds like a cool idea. And yeah, basically they had this little trailer where they show a little bit more like footage, and they kind of talk about who the main cast is going to be. And I'll admit, I don't really recognize any of the main cast. Like I know, for instance, I like clicked on the girl who's going to come out as Harley Quinn, and it doesn't look like she's done like a lot of like really big roles. It looks like she's been in quite a few anime, but all of her roles are kind of on the smaller side. It looks like this will be like the first one where she's really like the star. So I don't really recognize the voice actors. Makes sense since they're all Japanese voice actors, and I'd have to like really keep track of that, really look into that. I'll admit I haven't really looked into it too much. There's only like a few here and there I kind of recognize. Regardless, though, what I did think was interesting, though, is that based on what it shows, in the article, the main characters look like they're going to be Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Peacemaker, Clayface, and King Shark, as well as they really keep listing Joker. But I think it's kind of interesting that if you look in the trailer and like a lot of the stuff, it doesn't really show Joker anywhere. Like once they get to the isekai, other world, like they definitely show them at the beginning when like Harley Quinn is kind of running around doing crime. But once it actually shows them in the other world, they don't really show Joker anywhere, which I'm kind of curious about, them saying that he's kind of like one of the main characters. So it's kind of like, where's Joker at then? That they don't really show him anywhere. I'm kind of like wondering about that. But at the very least, yeah, it kind of mentions these 6 characters as like the main ones. And I think it's kind of cool that, King Shark and, Peacemaker, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, they were in the two, well, they were in the Suicide Squad movies. They were like a couple of them were like in the older one. I mean, Harley Quinn was in the older one, of course, and then we got the other ones in like the newer one. So like that's kind of cool to see. Like, oh, they're also going to be in this anime. So that's kind of interesting seeing them like in a different, series or whatever. And then of course Joker. I guess we'll have to see what his whole point is. But long story short, what I'm trying to say is that it's kind of interesting knowing more about what characters are going to come out. And yeah, from the footage they show, it looked pretty interesting. It looked kind of cool seeing all of the characters definitely using their different skills in this environment. And yeah, I'm really curious to know, how do they get here? Why are they here? What's up with it? Looks like they're going to be fighting like some dragon. Is it going to be that they get pulled into this world? Or are they sent there by Task Force X? Like what's like the point? And there's like a part in the trailer where it even says like, oh, like, we have to do things, or we're gonna have our like heads blown off in like 60 hours or something like that. So it's like, oh, so like they have like a time crunch, so like what's the deal there? So I don't know, it just seems interesting. Like I've said since I heard about this, I really want to know where this is going, and I'm hoping it's good because it definitely looks interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's interesting. And I definitely would watch it, I'm definitely gonna watch it. Um, I'm kind of wondering, yeah, exactly how are they gonna get there? The description doesn't really give us information on how. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, they're hired by, the people who usually hire them, and yeah, they're gonna be in a mysterious world with like dragons and stuff. And it's like that doesn't tell us anything, you know what I mean? So I'm wondering about
Yeah,
that, and
yeah, for
but
sure.
it looks like it's gonna be good.
Yeah, who knows what's up with that? But yeah, there you go. Pretty cool. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I'm interested and I hope other people are looking forward to it because I know when it comes out, I'm gonna like watch it and keep up with it. So, And it's also interesting that it's not gonna just be like a movie. The fact that it's like an actual series, that'll be interesting, just seeing like week to week where the story goes. So
That's gonna be pretty cool.
yeah, for sure. Alrighty, guys, and that's basically it. That is our news for this week. Honestly, uh, a lot of them I feel like lately a lot of them just been like little updates to news stories we've already covered, that sort of thing. I feel like we haven't had anything like really big in a while, but luckily I think that will change next week. Since next week, we are gonna get the trailer for GTA 6. There'll probably be some things to talk about there. And yeah, not only that, but as I kind of talked about a couple weeks ago and all that, Game Awards show is supposed to be, this coming up week or whatever. So we'll probably be talking about that for sure. So hopefully there's going to be some reveals and, big news stories there. So, I think next week should be pretty jam-packed in terms of news stories and stuff. But yeah, for now, those are the updates. Those are the things to look forward to and keep an eye on. So, there you go. Alrighty, jumping over to our last section of the podcast, closing off, what is our topic of the week? What we decided that we were going to talk about and recommend kind of has to do with the second news story we talked about, which was the Penny's Big Breakaway and the whole 3D platformer thing. That kind of made us think about a little game called A Hat in Time. So yeah, Hat in Time came out in 2017, although it kept getting updates for like a few years after that because they were like, a lot of DLC and updates and stuff. But yeah, it came back out in 2017, and I feel like that's really like the last big 3D platformer we got. You know what I mean? Like, not saying the usual, because I mean, obviously there is stuff like, those other Mario games and, other, like the return of like Crash and, stuff like that. But I mean, it's like the last big, like,
you mean like unique?
Yeah, like the last big new one, the last big like breakout one. You know what I mean? I feel like since then
Hmm.
we haven't really had another one that kind of like, oh my god, another big 3D platformer that had like a really recognizable like mascot, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? I feel like that was like the last really big one. That's why I'm kind of really hoping that Penny's Big Breakaway kind of follows in its footsteps, and hopefully it's like really good and like really big, but we'll have to wait and see. But regardless, getting back to hentai, and yeah, it came out in 2017, and it was just this really fun, like 3D platformer that it says, if you go to the Wikipedia page, it says that it kind of has inspiration based on stuff like Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Spyro, and Psychonauts. And yeah, I think it's like a really good mix of all those things for sure.
Hmm.
Like the way the
Definitely.
yeah, like the way the levels work, where you kind of go into a new world and it kind of just like the whole little intro, what it looks like, a little overview of it, all that stuff. It really does remind me of something like Mario 64 or maybe even like Sunshine, where every time
Definitely
you yeah,
Sunshine.
every time you enter like a new world, and especially like a different like level, because it goes by different like little levels, little different scenarios. It gives like a little overview of everything. It kind of reminds me of Sunshine. And then I
Hmm.
definitely see like the Banjo Kazooie-ness and Spyro and like the whole collecting all these different things and the way you traverse through like the worlds definitely reminds me of that. And then Psychonauts, I definitely see it in the sense of like the different worlds you go to. And some of them kind of have like a little bit of like a little mindscape sort of thing to it. Kind of reminds me of Psychonauts and like the different, minds you go to, and like I definitely see like a combination of all these different things is inspired by. Like I definitely see it, and
Hmm.
I can see why they say it's inspired by all this stuff. I definitely feel like DNA of all of them. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's just this really fun game where you play as this little character named Hat Kid that she is some sort of like an alien, right? Even though she looks like a human. She's like this alien that she wears a little top hat. That's like her little default um costume, but you can get different like hats and different different costumes for her. But yeah, it's this kid named Hat Kid, little alien, and she's trying to return her to her home world in her little spaceship. And some stuff happens where all these little like hourglasses that she has that kind of power her ship, they end up getting scattered all over like space and stuff. And so it's all
Hmm.
about you going to these different worlds and collecting the little timepieces and, you know, going through the worlds and defeating all of these like bosses and all this stuff. That way Hat Kid can get back home. And it's pretty fun, pretty cool. Different worlds you go to are pretty cool, really interesting. Has a lot of unique like humor and stuff. The gameplay's pretty cool. You have her little umbrella that she uses to like attack, and she uses to
Hmm.
kind of like float around, right? But you can get all these different hats that they give her different power-ups. Like there's one that she can use to like launch herself. There's one she can use to run really fast. There's one she can use to oh my god, what else was there? I'm trying to remember. What else was there? There's all sorts of moves. I remember the speed one. I remember the one to launch yourself.
The parade one.
The which one?
The parade.
Yeah, it was when they used it to like a parade, right? Kind of like the Majora's Mask little troop leader one where like stuff follows you, right? If I remember something like that.
Hmm. But this one you cannot mess up once. That's definitely something I remember, and I
Yeah, that
struggled
level
with.
was hard. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there's all these hats that you can use for like different moves, and it depends on like what world you're in and that sort of thing too. And yeah, it's just pretty cool. And there's like this antagonist. Her name is Mustache Girl. She's like your rival. That she's going around and like messing things up. And it just has all sorts of quirky characters, a lot of fun dialogue and humor and stuff, a lot of unique gameplay, and all the worlds you go to are different, and you have to do different things. And like we said, it just really took off. It was really popular when it came out. And it's really cool that for a while it got a bunch of like different updates and DLC that just added more to do and a bunch of like
Hmm.
multiplayer stuff. And like, I don't know, just really fun. I didn't play all of the DLC, especially like I didn't really do a lot of like the online stuff, but I did like the main story as well as some of the, stuff that they added. And it was pretty good. And it was really cool how they just kept adding all this stuff. So you would like kind of like return to it. You know what I mean? But it's just a really fun game. I really recommend it if you
It
haven't
is.
played it. It's really worth your time, worth like
It definitely
it's
is.
like worth like the price, you know what I mean? And it's pretty cool because it's on Steam, it's on Switch, it's on PS4, it's on Xbox One. What I do remember is I do remember the devs were kind of dicks. Or like they're like, oh yeah, this game will like never come to like Nintendo Switch, like over my dead body or whatever is like the main guy said. And then it ended up coming to Switch like a couple years later. So like I don't know what the deal was there. So that is one thing that I was kind of like felt like the devs or like the main guy or whatever, he was kind of a dick about it. But I mean, I don't know, maybe he changed his mind. I don't know. But yeah, it's like on all systems basically. So that's pretty cool. And
Hmm.
yeah, I just wonder what happened to that studio. I don't know if they ever made more things, which is kind of weird.
They
Uh,
didn't. They actually didn't.
yeah, maybe like I said, either maybe it could be that because they spent so much time with all the updates, maybe they're still like working on something else. That could be it. Or who knows, maybe they kind of burned some bridges with the kind of like some of the stuff they said, like I said, I mean kind of dicks, so like, oh no, this will like never come to Switch over my dead body or whatever. I don't know, maybe they burned some bridges there, not too sure. But it'll be interesting to see what else happens in the future, I guess. But for now, at the very least, this game is pretty fun. Actually, hold on, I'm looking it up. They did make some other stuff. Hold on. What is this? I just went to their official page because I'm curious. Okay, no, hold on. I think it says Vanessa's Curse. That's right. That was still part of Hat in
It was like an
Time.
online
Yeah.
campaign.
Oh, what about this though? Here comes 𝐤𝐤𝐿. What is 𝐤𝐤𝐿? Hold on. What is that though? I never heard about this. And it says, "My boss is a it looks goofy. The point is, you can look it up for yourself because it doesn't really have anything to do with a Hat in Time. But I was just curious because I had wondered like what happened to this developer. So they did make another game after that called Here Comes 𝐤𝐤𝐿. It came out like a year ago, I think. So they have been doing some stuff, but they just haven't made like a lot. But who knows? Like I said, maybe it's just because maybe they're like working on stuff. I know like obviously the pandemic really messed with a lot of things and all that. So who knows? Maybe one of these days they'll just be like, "Yo, we're back. Here's more stuff we've made. Here's our next project." You know what I mean? So who knows? I guess. Regardless, though, going back to the whole
Yeah.
thing, Hat in Time is our recommendation slash topic of the week. We've both played it. We both think it's really fun. We both think that it's
Hmm.
really unique. We think it's a really good experience. And like I said, it's on a bunch of different systems. So if you have not checked it out before, check it out. I definitely think that it is really cool. So there you go.
Yeah, check it out, guys.
Yep. Alrighty, guys, and that's it for this week. That is it for this podcast. Like I said, hopefully you guys enjoy it, even though it was kind of, it wasn't anything too big. It was just like mostly updates. And then when it came to us, we only did like one thing each. So there wasn't too much content per se, but hopefully you guys still enjoyed the podcast regardless. Hopefully you guys had a fun time with it. Hopefully we gave you guys some ideas of things to keep an eye out for and, try for yourself. And yeah, we're going to try our best to be back next week with the Game Awards, you know, um, news slash coverage. And yeah, I'm kind of excited, not like super over the moon, I'll admit, but
Hmm.
I am still, cautiously optimistic, hoping that we get some good stuff. There's always at least like one thing that really makes you go like, whoa, that was like pretty cool, right? So I'm just hoping that it'll be a fun event, that we get some cool updates or reveal trailers or whatever. And yeah, hopefully we just have a lot to talk about next week. I'm, fingers
Yeah,
crossed. So yeah,
hopefully.
yeah, there you have it, guys. Hope you guys have a good one, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. So goodbye.
Bye-bye.